Hello, all you beautiful people. How you guys doing? So this, whether you've seen it or not, is a personality test to figure out your personality type. But for today's video, we're going to mix it up a little bit because we're not going to test my personality. We are going to test Raiden's personality. We are going to take this test as if the Raiden Shogun, specifically A, is taking this test. If we have more time, maybe we'll run it through and maybe we'll pretend to be Makoto or something, or maybe the Raiden Shogun would be more appropriate because we don't know too much about Makoto. But maybe we'll do one for A, maybe we'll do one for Raiden Shogun. Let's just see how long this takes. Let's start it with the first question. Do you regularly make new friends? I think maybe before the Inazuma arc happens, it would be more on the disagree kind of side. But after the Inazuma arc, especially after that first story quest where she's getting out a little bit more, actually getting to know people a little bit more, I'll say slightly agree. She's trying, you know what I mean? She's trying a little bit. Number two, do you spend a lot of free time exploring various random topics that pique your interest? Again, it's another situation of before Inazuma arc, after Inazuma arc. And, again, with that first story quest, she's looking into the light novels, finding out about Dango milk and things like that. I think it's the same thing, right? It's just a little bit toward it. Seeing other people cry can easily make you feel like you want to cry too. I think how A is right now, it may depend, right? I think it would depend on what they are crying about. Maybe if it has anything to do with family, right? I think if it has anything at all to do with family, she would definitely start tearing up because she can feel a lot of empathy and sympathy towards them. So I'm gonna put that in the middle. I think it depends, right? I think it depends on what the person's crying about. You often make a backup plan for your backup plan. More so on the disagree, because I think the most important thing to her is not making a backup plan for the backup plan, but the overarching plan is the most important thing. Usually stay calm even under a lot of pressure. I think she is a very calm person, even when she's kind of thrown off. Even when like the Tachi got countered by Kazuha, she was still very calm and composed. I think if there's one big attribute about her, is her calmness. At social events, you rarely try to introduce yourself to new people and mostly talk with the ones that you already know. This one's very interesting. Again, right before arc, after arc, I do think that as long as she has somebody she knows with her, she wouldn't feel too bad introducing herself to other people as long as there's like a purpose there. But maybe she would need somebody there with her, so I'm gonna put that in the middle. But still, I don't think she's afraid to introduce herself to new people. So I would agree with that. Finish one project before starting another. I can't think of a situation where she would be like doing multiple things at the same time, multiple type of projects at the same time. And this is mostly in regards to the creation of the puppets. So I'm going to slightly agree. Feel free to disagree with me, of course. You are very sentimental. I mean, yes, of course she is, right? Like, this is the impetus of her doing what she did. She went to these extreme measures because her sister had died when she was away during the Archon War, or the Calamity, one of those things, right? So that she could make sure, Inazuma doesn't die, doesn't perish, make sure everybody stays here, take away these, like, dangerous visions and things like that, so that Inazuma as a populace does not die out like kind of her sister did, like keeping them close to her kind of situation. So I would say very sentimental, to maybe to an aggressive degree, right? Sentimental to an aggressive degree is probably one of her faults here. Even a small mistake can cause you to doubt your overall abilities and knowledge. Yeah, now, right, post arc, right now, now she has that doubt your overall abilities and knowledge because she's been like the wishes finally got to her, right? When the traveler like condensed all the wishes from the statue into her, she was finally able to realize, right? They got to her hardened heart, right? That's the thing they say at the end of the arc. So before, I think she was very staunch in like her beliefs and like what she was doing. She thought she was doing correct. But after the arc, she's been told like, no, this is not the way to seek eternity. This is not the correct way to do it. The correct way is by listening to your people and listening to the wishes that they want, and you can still seek eternity that way. So yeah. So I think she did have that. I think it was pretty big, right? I think it made a pretty big impact on her. I think it made a pretty big impact on her because she pretty much immediately like lifted a decree, and people were free to leave. Okay, after rewatching a little bit of the Raiden story 1, it seems like she's actually a little bit interested. She's not like super duper interested, and she's kind of confused about like how these things make sense. Like she's looking for a lot of like logic in them, but it seems like she was pretty interested in the discussion of it. So not too interested. I would disagree with that because she seemed decently interested in the actual stories. Kind of disagree there. Kind of disagree here, right? Like, the whole point is that, like, she was influenced by her loss, right? And so she made a decision that she thought was correct, right? Keeping Inazuma in lockdown, taking away people's visions, because she thought that would eventually, you know, get her eternity, you know, make sure the people, like, would be, like, make sure Inazuma, not the people, right? That was the problem. Make sure Inazuma as a whole would stay eternal, right? By staying in Inazuma and taking away the visions, which could be dangerous. Like, she was making sure Inazuma can stay eternal, stay unchanging. But if she had followed her head and been like, you know, Inazuma can still stay eternal, but things can be changing at the same time, that doesn't mean Inazuma is going away. It just then means that Inazuma is changing and adapting and things like that, yada yada yada. I think it's not because I think there is a logic with the logic that she had, but it wasn't the best logic. So I'm gonna put that in the more inclined to follow your head than your heart, because yeah, it was definitely more influenced by the heart from her loss itself. So definitely she's more in tune to the heart, but not to an extreme degree, because she did have a logic in there. And if it was completely following her heart, she would definitely be a lot more kind to the individual people, but she was more focused on Inazuma as a whole compared to the actual, you know, individual people, right? Because that was the issue. Your opponents are worrying that things will take a turn for the worst. Right, this was the, I think this, I agree with this one. Because that's the impetus for her. I keep saying that's the impetus, but that's the reason that she became so hardened. That's the reason she became so stoic, right? Because, you know, she wasn't there and her sister died, so she's always worrying that things will take a turn for the worst, right? The worst is that Inazuma being completely wiped off the map. The smaller things, right, like the people having worse lives because the people who lost their visions, right, they're having worse lives. The people that want to get out of Inazuma and travel out, like, those are worries, but it's not the worst. The worst would be the entirety of Inazuma being wiped out. But she definitely worries about that, right? Yeah, she definitely worries about that. You avoid leadership roles in groups. Hard disagree. It's super hard disagree. Her leadership quality, you know, some people can argue that, but she always takes the leadership role. Like, that is the choice that she wants to make, is the leadership role. You're definitely, but actually, now that I'm thinking about it again, because she was more so a warrior before Makoto died, right? Makoto was the actual leader in terms of, like, the ruling of it, and she was more so... Maybe I'm not gonna full agree. Maybe I'm not gonna full agree now, more that I think about it. Because Makoto was, like, a leader, and then she was, like, thrust upon this role, and then she made the choices that she did, and then... Okay. But she doesn't avoid it, right? She doesn't avoid it. She wasn't set up with the correct tools, and maybe it wasn't her choice to be in this particular role. And she didn't make all the best decisions, but she never avoided it, I don't think. You're definitely not an artistic type of person. Yeah, I don't think she's really an artistic type of person. You could argue maybe blade work? You could maybe argue blade work is like an artistic type of thing. So I'm gonna say middle. You could argue that. I think she would believe that. I think not realizing how much of her decision hinges on her feelings for the loss of her sister. But I think this statement, I think she would think the world would be a better place, but rely more on rationality. I think she would agree with that statement. You have been fascinated by the question of what, if anything, happens after death. No, I don't think so. I think she hates death. I think she wants to avoid it. The death of her sister has definitely impacted her, so I don't think she wonders at all what happens after that. Well, maybe she does wonder. Maybe she does. See, because I'm thinking of Story Quest 2, right? Now I'm thinking of Story Quest 2, when it's revealed that Makoto's spirit is inevitably planted inside the Sakura tree. So, actually, I'm disagreeing with myself. Yeah, I think maybe at first she wasn't worried about it and she just wanted to avoid death, but I think after seeing what happened in Story Quest 2 with that flashback to what happened to Makoto and she eventually becomes what is the Sacred Sakura Tree, maybe she is somewhat interested now. Alright, we are halfway through, ladies and gentlemen. If you have been enjoying this, by the way, go ahead and drop that subscribe button. I like doing more fun, like, stupid, weird ideas like this. If you want me to do it with any other character, you know, please do ask. And, yeah, let us continue. And I also stream every single day, twitch.tv/MeteorFucking. Please do check me out if you guys need help with anything, like Genshin character reviews, maybe you need your abyss cleared, anything like that. I stream every single day. Hope to see you guys there. Alright, let's continue. You usually prefer to be around others rather than on your own. Prefer to be around others. Yeah, right? Because we saw that initial cutscene with her, with all her friends, hanging out on that picnic blanket. She seems to be fine with, like, you know, working with people, with, like, in the army, with Sarah, with Miko, even if Miko can be a little bit annoying, with Traveler. I think maybe she wouldn't always seek out the group, but she doesn't mind being with the group, right? She doesn't hate being around others. You rarely second guess the choices that you have made. Ooh, this is a really good one. So at first, I would agree. She rarely second guesses. But after the Inazuma arc, she's definitely had to look inside herself and second choices the choices that she has made. Actually, I would harshly disagree with this. Would I harshly disagree? You rarely second guess the choices that you made. I think it was just it was two big decisions, right? It was the Sakoku Decree. Well, no, it was three things, right? It was the Sakoku Decree, and it was the Vision Hunt Decree, and then ultimately those led into the idea of her eternity, right? She had to completely change how she thought about her eternity. But I think that was just like the one major thing. I don't think she constantly does it, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna put it right here. I don't think she constantly second guesses the choices that she makes, but there were some big second guesses that she had. So I'm gonna put that right there. You often had a hard time understanding other people's feelings. Yeah, I think so, right? I think, again, that is one of the biggest points about the arc, is that she saw Inazuma as a whole populace, and wanted to protect the whole of Inazuma instead of looking at the actual individual people and what they actually individually wanted. So I think she does have a hard time understanding it. I think she's getting better, so I'm not going to do it completely. But I think that is the entire point of the arc, is that she wants to protect her people without actually paying attention to what the people want, right? Like what the people's true wishes were. This is the most in the middle one. I feel like for most things, she feels pretty secure, but in some things, I'm sure she feels insecure, especially after the realization from the Traveler and her people. Another thing with Makoto. I think overall she's pretty secure. But there are some instances where she is. I don't know about this one. I hate putting things in the middle because that feels like it's not gonna factor in. But I feel like this is a factor. Yeah, I could be persuaded each way. I'm just not thinking of I'm just not thinking of a particular moment where she really felt insecure. You're still bothered by mistakes that you made a long time ago? Oh yeah, right. She's always. I feel like the Makoto. Thinking about Makoto is something that's always on her mind, like what she could have done in that instance to, like, you know, because so her sister didn't die. Like maybe she doesn't go to the Calamity. Maybe she takes Makoto with her. Maybe she's the one to go to the Calamity and Makoto's the one to stay. Like if she had the choice, I'm sure that she would make sure that Makoto didn't go. You take great care not to make people look bad, even when it's completely their fault. So I'm thinking about the Kujo, right? I'm thinking about the Kujo. People have the opportunity to prove themselves, right? Even when it's completely their fault. And I'm sure, like, if they weren't able to prove, like, if the Kujo guy wasn't able to prove himself, then she would make him look horrible. But he was able to prove himself. So I think right here, because she gives them the opportunity, right? It gives them the opportunity, but we'll still throw it in their face. Your personal work style is closer to spontaneous bursts of energy than organized and consistent. Disagree. Yeah, organized and consistent effort. Consistent, right? Eternity, right? Consistent. If nothing, if consistent, right? She's nothing if consistent. You would love a job that requires you to work alone most of the time. She was alone in Euthymia, so maybe that's her preference. Would love but I don't think she would love a job that would require her to work alone. So I would kind of disagree. But she did spend a lot of time in Euthymia, so I would say small disagree. This should be the last 10. These are the last 10, I believe. You often feel overwhelmed. I think at times she has felt overwhelmed, and that's a big part of her story. Like, she's constantly losing friends and things like that, and obviously the loss of her sister was the biggest one. So I think she has felt overwhelmed a lot, but I don't think she often feels overwhelmed. I think she has felt overwhelmed in the past for sure, but often, I don't think often. You feel confident with that things will work out for you. I think she has confidence that the path that she is going is the correct one after she understood the wishes of her people. And then Raiden is a female. Alright. Let us see the results. What do you think? What do you think the results will be? I don't remember the specific personality trait things. I don't even remember what my personality trait is. It's been so long. But yeah, what do you think it's gonna be? Type it in the comments. Alright, here we go. The console, ESFJT. Consoles are very caring, social, community-minded people who are always eager to help. Interesting. 53% extroverted. Yeah, this middling thing is definitely, I think I answered a lot of these in the middle. I think she's becoming like this, right? I think when it comes to, I think she wants to and is kind of maybe becoming like this. I think at first, or maybe like right now, she's not this yet, but she is maybe becoming like this, maybe? But this 50% is definitely where I feel like it's correct. It's 50% extroverted, because she has no problems hanging out and like going out with like group activities, social interaction. She has no issues with doing it, but she won't really seek it out. So I think the percentages are definitely very telling here. That she is she's very willing to go out and do these type of things, but she'll never initiate it, if that makes sense, right? 54% observant, are pragmatic and down to earth. They tend to have a strong focus on what is happening or very is likely to happen. I think the opposite of what this would be. I definitely answered a lot of these kind of like more 50-50. Pragmatic, down to earth. Yeah, she's definitely pragmatic and down to earth, right? I think she, in terms of like, she's very like realistic, and she is very like, you know, these are the things that are like realistically and logically happening. I think this makes sense. Like, yeah, I don't think she's quite intuitive, because she didn't realize the actions that she was taking was having more a negative result than what she actually wanted. So I don't think she's quite intuitive. She's definitely more observant, I think. She's a bit more feeling than thinking. I think this one is a more nuanced take, at least for me. Maybe it's a hot take. I think for this one, the 50% is definitely really telling, because I think she always plans in a way that it seems like, oh, she's playing this all out with like the thinking, but I don't think she's realizing how much her feelings are having an influence on her, right? When it comes to like her sister and her losses in general of her friends and things like that. I don't think she's realizing how much they actually are having an impact on her, right? I don't think she's realizing how much of an impact they actually having are. Blah. I don't think she's realizing how much of an impact they are having on her. I cannot speak today. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't think she's realizing how much of an impact they are having on her. Judging. Judging individuals are decisive, thorough, and heavily organized. They value clarity, predictability, closure. Oh yeah, this is right into a T. Right here. Oh yeah. Clarity, predictability, yeah, closure, preferring structure, compared to spontaneity. Yeah, this is right into a T. Turbulent versus assertive individual are self-conscious and sensitive to stress. They feel a sense of urgency in their emotions and tend to success-driven, perfectionist, and eager to improve. Again, I feel confident about the 50-50 here. I think maybe she could have gone in either direction, but again, she's definitely changing kind of as a person to more this, from like this more stoic, she knows what she's doing is correct, she has this plan that she is like executing, versus now it's like, oh, getting to know the people a little bit more, getting to know them better, changing her direction of eternity, trying to serve the people's wishes more so than serve this idea of keeping Inazuma eternal. So yeah, I'm continuing with that. And then we put Raiden Shogun's email in there. Okay, so maybe we could have done that. Maybe that's like another direction to take it, is like Raiden before, right? Maybe that's something interesting, is Raiden before the Inazuma arc, when she was definitely a lot more stoic. She was definitely a lot more like, the way that I'm like heading Inazuma towards eternity is like the correct way. by keeping them in Inazuma with the Sakoku decree, keeping them away from visions, even though that may be negatively affecting their lives. I'm not focused on that. I'm more so focused on Inazuma as a whole and making sure Inazuma stays eternal. So maybe that would be a cool thing to do. Yeah, because I kind of did Raiden kind of after the Inazuma arc when she was like more in this like weird period of doing like 50-50, a lot of like 50-50s between them. But like maybe when she was more so one type of personality direction, that could have been a lot more interesting. And especially where she's going in life too, because yeah, your personality type can definitely change too. That's a big thing, right? Anywho, that was fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. I think this was a cool video, something cool to try. If you guys want me to do this with a different character, or maybe you want me to do this with like Raiden before the Inazuma arc when she had like more of a stoic, defined type of personality, tell me what you think. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I will see you guys next time, and peace out.